All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll give everybody a couple minutes to hop in here and we'll get started soon. Looks like we have quite a few people trickling in. Good to see everybody. All right, we can go ahead. It looks like we have a pretty good group of people joining us today, so we can go ahead and kick it right off. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for today's conversation, The New Players, Same Game, How Reviews, SEO, and AEO are shaping contractor visibility in the age of AI. So it's no surprise to anybody on this call, I'm sure, but contractors are hearing a lot about AI right now. AI overviews, chat GPT, answer engine optimization, which may or may not be a new term for you, and also new search behaviors, right? So while these names may be new essentially to you, the reality is that many of these fundamentals have not changed. The trust is still the most important thing, and it's still what's winning. And visibility absolutely still matters. And reviews are, as we all know, are continuing to be one of the strongest signals influencing whether a homeowner is going to choose your business or never be able to find you. So in today's session, I'm so excited that we're going to be unpacking how reviews, SEO, and AEO are all working together and what's actually changing, and most importantly, what contractors should be doing right now to stay visible and also stay competitive. A couple of introductions. I am Rebecca Mayo. I am our Director of Partnerships here at gFour Marketing, and I am so happy to be joined today by two expert panelists and friends of mine in the industry. Pete, I'll kick it over to you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Pete Dabble, Vice President of Sales here with gFour. I've been in the home improvement industry for going on 20 years, which is kind of wild to say out loud. And 8 of those wonderful years have been here with gFour Marketing. So looking forward to answering some questions and kind of getting everybody up to speed on what's going on out there.
Awesome. Thanks, Pete. Patrick, kick it over to you.
Thanks, Becca. Hey, everybody. I'm Patrick Chisholm. I'm the VP of SEO at Truvolv. I'm actually fairly new to the home improvement space. I've spent most of my career in the enterprise SEO space, working for like Disney, Chase Bank, Capital One, that group. But definitely bringing in some conversion-focused SEO tactics. So trying to make money with SEO is the overall philosophy of what we do. So excited to talk about SEO and AI today for sure.
Awesome. Thanks, Patrick. So happy to have both of you here for this really, truly important conversation today. So before we dive into our content, I am very curious to hear from our guests today that are listening in. So I thought we could start with a quick pulse check. So the first pulse check is, have you ever checked how your business is showing up in either Chat GPT or Google's AI overviews? We really would love to hear from you on this. It's something we talk about, so feel free to put your vote in. Okay, I'll give everyone a couple minutes to participate in our quick pulse check. All right. It looks like we will have some answers for you at the end of the session. So while we wait for those, we'll dive right into our opener, Patrick. So let's start with you. We have such an exciting discussion ahead, so I want to jump right into the content. But you know, from where you sit, contractors are hearing terms like AI search and AI overviews and answer engines everywhere, right? So from your perspective, what's actually changing in the search landscape today?
Yeah, I mean, short answer is a lot is changing. But I will say that like if you would have asked this question 8, 10, 12 months ago, the answer would have been we don't really know because the tools weren't really there. The visibility wasn't there. The research hadn't been done. The case studies hadn't been done. But we're now finally starting to get that. Really, in the last 5 or 6 months, we've really started to get the data to say what's happening in the AI space. No surprise, AI visibility is growing. People are using AI tools, specifically ChatGPT, and then AI overviews, which are those AI responses you get at the top of Google. So we're seeing more and more of that regularly, but it is something that is growing. But it's good to understand where it's growing. Primarily, it does seem to be growing in the research phase as of this call. So we're growing in the research phase. So when a customer or a user is researching what to do, where to go, what to interact with, they're going to AI first, but they're still primarily taking their transactions, their purchases, they're picking up the phone and calling via a Google or a Google Maps type of search. And that's good to know. It's one of those things, kind of a delicate balance because we see that AI is growing, it's here, it's being used by more and more users. But what's actually causing the phones to ring and the calls to happen, that's still happening through traditional SEO search at this moment in time. So we have to be prepared for both. We can't put our heads in the sand, and we have to really be saying, we know what's coming. We know AI is coming. So how do we prepare for that while also protecting the value that we've gained through our SEO work as well?
Absolutely. I love what you just said about being prepared, right? That's such an important thing. For somebody that's listening to this call today, could you explain to them what is AEO?
Yeah, it's a good question. And actually, the definition's gotten a little fuzzy again in the last 10 months as we've all kind of figured out definitions of what everything is. But AEO proper, answer engine optimization. So what that is optimizing your site, your content, so that it is used as the response for an AI tool. So very similar to like we optimize SEO, search engine optimization. We're trying to optimize for Google primarily search. So AEO is that getting a response to a question. We're trying to optimize to be that response. You might also hear the term gEO, which sometimes gets conflated with AEO. gEO stands for Generative Engine Optimization, and that's talking about who gets referenced when a tool like ChatGPT gives an answer. So if you search anything into ChatGPT, you'll often see cited sources along the right. Being in those cited sources, that's really generative engine optimization. What is being used to generate the response that the AI tool uses?
Yeah, absolutely. Here's an interesting thing that I have heard a lot about lately, and I would love to hear your perspective. But what do you think some misconceptions that contractors are hearing right now in relation to AEO?
A ton. And some of this is because probably 12 months ago, every person on this call got an audit from a no-name SEO agency saying you're not winning in AI, and here's why. A lot of that was snake oil salesman type of stuff because they didn't really have the data. They were using some good guesses, but they didn't really have the data to support that. We now again we have that, we're starting to learn. So I think the biggest misconception that I hear in the space is that everyone is using AI exclusively. Um, if you're in the remodeling space, particularly, who's your customer? Who are they? I mean, they're typically someone who's 50, 55 plus, because they have the money to spend on remodeling type of work. So we're seeing that use case, that demographic is really only using AI tools of really any kind, about 25% of the time. So 25% of that audience is using AI. If you go up a notch, if you go to 65 plus, that population, only about 10% is using AI tools. And this is probably hard to believe if you're on this call, because if you might be like, oh, I'm 60 and I use AI. We do see a break in where we'll have uh, business owners who are in the space. They're often just the personality of business owner. They're often very forward thinking. They're often very like they want to be ahead of the curve. And so they're using AI more than the average user is. Um, if you have a service that's targeting more of a younger population, so that's your millennial, Gen Z, Gen Alpha even, um, that population is much more suited to using AI on a regular basis. So is AI being used? Absolutely. Is it being used exclusively? No, not at all. So I think that's a very common misconception in the space.
Yeah, absolutely. And something that's also interesting to think about to piggyback off of some of the things you just mentioned, Patrick, are how homeowners are searching and their behaviors. So, talk to us a little bit about what you've seen and how AI is changing those behaviors.
Yeah, going back to like the informational searches, we're seeing a lot of the research happen on AI. And it could be research of a brand, but it's the research. I don't think of it necessarily as replacing. We're seeing it as a new path that can get to your website. We're also seeing that users who find you via ChatGPT specifically are 2.5 times more likely to come to your website proper. So it's definitely a trust building piece that is very relevant. But the users right now are really using this to kick the tires a little bit in the AI space, and then using that to then feed where they go next.
Yeah. So, in your opinion, is traditional SEO still relevant? I mean, I know we've seen the longevity of it, but talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, decisively yes. And I mean, there's a few reasons for saying that. But one, we're seeing again the studies that are coming out. We're seeing that traditional SEO tactics seem to be the primary drivers of what's affecting AI tactics. And I'll talk about that here a little bit more in a minute. But the fact that like Google Business Profile reviews, recency, being present, having good content, these are things that AI is pulling from. They're pulling from your footprint on the internet. So I would go as far to say that SEO is more important than ever because kind of under the umbrella of SEO, we're seeing that the tactics that we're doing for good SEO are impacting or trickling down to the AI tactics as well.
Absolutely. It's such a good point too, to reiterate the fact that SEO is really the cornerstone and they all are feeding into each other for improved visibility and rankings on Google. So it's really important that we're considering all angles. It's actually a great segue to Pete. Question for you. So, if a contractor is listening to this right now and is really looking for ways to improve visibility, rankings, and really ramp up their lead gen over the next, let's say, 6 months, what are some of the first steps that they should be taking?
All right. Step one would be to make sure that you have a completed Google business profile. So we want that all to be optimized, completely filled out. And what I mean by that is things like that may not be so, seemingly important, but like your business hours. What hours of the day are you open? What areas do you service? Like the neighborhoods, to be even more specific. List your services, bath, kitchen, remodeler, windows, I mean, siding, whatever it is, roofing. So once you have those all kind of knocked out, the next step is to, let's showcase the work you're doing out there. You've got a lot of, photos, hopefully before and after. Let's get some high quality photos of real jobs that you've completed. And then once you do that, a big part of what we're going to be talking about is securing that social proof or these reviews. Let's make sure that you have a system, a consistent routine that is, getting in front of every satisfied customer and, getting that Google review. Ideally, those Google reviews capture some of your keywords and services. But again, once you have all of this completed, you can start converting a lot of this visibility into revenue by launching those local ads. So I think that's a good place to start. And then, we're going to really dive into more of the, social proof review stuff here throughout this webinar. But I'll keep it short and sweet on this first question.
Yeah, definitely. You make a great point. I think it's really interesting to see how technology is changing the way that, homeowners are discovering our contractors. But really, the most interesting thing is that trust is really still the currency that is driving every single business decision. And so that's where having that Google My Business page comes into play in a powerful way.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I believe 91% of homeowners are looking at reviews now before they choose their home service pro. So, I mean, that's basically everyone. And I think at a minimum, they're looking at 10 reviews. So again, you want to be sure that you're showcasing recency, you know, how often have you been out there, consistency, and then all of these other, again, best practices we're going to be going through. But everyone's looking at reviews. I don't think it's a surprise, but that number keeps growing and growing and growing, and it's here to stay. So super
And
important.
to add to that, I mean, even AI is using reviews. I mean, it's referencing. So it's like it's not just people; it's the bots that we got to be prepared for. So it's a yeah, double whammy on the review side.
Good call out, Patrick.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you both make a great point, and that reviews are really still the MVP of what we want our contractors to be focusing on. Speaking of which, I think we have another quick test with a poll before we continue. But to this group, what do you guys think that the number one thing that AI is actually looking at when it's deciding which businesses to recommend? So we'll give you a couple seconds to answer this pulse check. And again, we'll let you guys know the responses to these at the end of the session. All right. So Pete, piggybacking off of the Google conversation, Google My Business. So we often say here that reviews are one of the most valuable assets that a contractor owns. So in your opinion, why do you think they matter so much today more than they may have previously before?
There are many reasons, but I'm sure many of you have also noticed that competition is stronger than ever. So how do you separate yourself? By telling your story, and kind of highlight what experience this prospect should expect from working with you. It's done through the review. It's done through your customer stories that they're telling on behalf of how you treated them. So that's the first one. Second of all, we mentioned 9 out of 10 people are looking at reviews. A minimum of 10 to build that trust before they start to fill out those forms and ask you to come out. I believe nearly half of those people, so 50%, aren't going to look at you at all if your reviews aren't anywhere that's easy for them to find, and if you don't have a minimum of a 4.5 star review or higher. So very important to be above that 4.5. Ideally, you're somewhere between 4.5 to 4.8. Anything above 4.8 is obviously strong. But again, if you're not in those segments there, you're going to be losing out on a lot of opportunity. And then, we talk a lot about the trust. I mean, the trust is built through reviews. It can be a referral engine for you. But nowadays, with maybe a lack of an informal referral where someone's actually tapping you on the shoulder, homeowners are telling us as many as 6 out of 10 homeowners tell us that they trust these reviews as much as they would as a personal recommendation from a friend or a family member. So if those aren't enough reasons right there, I would say, we've got to start thinking about, some other things here to get into this game. But yeah, those are the reasons that we hear most often on our end.
Yeah, that's, super interesting. And we just actually got the results back from that poll we just launched. And I was going to wait till the end, but I'd rather share now. So 73% of you guys listening to this right now think that reviews, to your point, Pete, are the most valuable thing that AI pulls from. So you are definitely on the right track. And the combination with SEO. So Patrick, I have another question for you. And that is from an SEO perspective, why do you think that reviews are such an important signal for Google and AI search tools?
Yeah, and if we're gonna be real, it's not a matter of thinking. It's like the data supports it. Like like White Spark did a recent 2026 review of what's working well in AI and SEO, and like the number one ranking factor was reviews. And reviews is the number of reviews, the review quality, review count, recency. So how often you're getting reviews, those were all factors. Um, so when it comes to like why that's so important, I mean it's might seem obvious, but it's the human factor, right? It's having a real person say this was my real experience, and then providing that in a way that is then feeding the other tools, is feeding the algorithms, feeding the AI tools. So surprisingly, AI and Google algorithms, they all are really looking for humanness in their responses. So having that from reviews of any kind, and Google is the prime example, but reviews on aggregators like Thumbtack, Yelp, etc. Like those are all very important as well, because that's feeding the machine. That's the human aspect that's feeding all of the tools we use.
Yeah, definitely. I couldn't agree with you more. And, back to that whole trust factor, I think people are really looking for that, when they're searching online and making sure that it's authentic and trustworthy. So, another question for you, Patrick, is in your opinion, for everyone listening to this, if a contractor only focused on one visibility strategy, let's say for the next 90 days, what would, in your mind, what would help improve their review strategy? Like, talk to us about that in your opinion.
Yeah, I mean to get more reviews, it needs to be a formula. It needs to be a system to get reviews. Um, I think the asking your installers to be a part of that to getting reviews. But yeah, I think the value of reviews is so immense that we can't ignore it and we can't leave it up to chance. So it has to be something that is triggered and connected to like specific work. You should be asking people for reviews, asking everybody. Um, don't ask your mom, that can get tracked, unfortunately, but ask as many people as you can that have worked with you. Go back to people you haven't worked with in a year and still be like, hey, you had a great experience. We would love to get a review from you. Like this should be the number one priority. And again, I'm kind of dividing this up, but Google Business Profile and on the other places that the reviews are. You need to be in those places too, because that is what is getting sourced consistently. These high value directories, these aggregators, like having your name, your presence in these spaces is just the most important thing for you right now.
Yeah, you make such a good point there. It's really important that we are creating as much visibility as we can through reviews and other things as well. So, moving into that section, I would like to do one more pulse check, hot take, as you will. So, for somebody that's listening to this, that's saying to themselves, like back to our previous point, our customers are 55 plus. So AI is not relevant to my business or it necessarily doesn't impact my business. How do you feel about that? We would love to hear from you. It's always interesting to poll our attendees on these because we get such a different group at times, but it's fun to just see where people are currently at with AI. So feel free to put your vote in. Interesting. Okay, so I just actually got a response in real time from our team that says 95% of people disagree with that. So looks like we're on the right track here with our education. But
Right. You can
speaking
either
of
get on the AI bus or get off.
yes, exactly. That's it. That's what we want. We want to help bring as much education as we can to our contractors and you know, that's why we're here, right? That's why all of you signed up to listen into this today. So we really want to make sure that we're providing that to you, which is a perfect segue back to you, Patrick. Something that we get asked a lot about is specific differences between SEO and AEO. And what I have heard is a lot of people are either in the like, they just need to know more, right? The more information we can provide, the better. So If we
Yeah,
can break it down simply, in your words and your experience, what is the difference between the two?
I think of SEO as the like umbrella. I think as AEO is under that umbrella. Um, let's let's say tomorrow Google closes shop. Let's say it's done, it's gone, and ChatGPT reigns forever. Like let's say that takes over. It's very unlikely to happen, but let's say it does. How does ChatGPT give an answer? It's still providing a response based on what is most valuable, based on what it's finding most valuable. So the that is SEO. That's that you're responding for search. Like there's a search and there's a response. You're trying to show up as the response. So I don't think it. I think the field might have changed, but the game is like very very much the same. Yeah, I think that AEO is under the SEO umbrella. I will say that there is some nuance to that. We are seeing a few things be slightly different about what's working and what's not on AEO versus traditional SEO, but for the most part, it's very similar. And we're trying to get the same result. We're trying to show up as the answer when someone's asking a question that's relevant to our business, of course, but it's relevant to our business.
Yeah, I really appreciate you clarifying that because I think the more clarity that we can provide to our partners, to our customers, the better. And also relieve anybody's concerns, right? Because I think sometimes when there are things that we don't know enough information about, it can cause almost panic inside the business and just ambiguity. So Pete, I'm curious, I'll switch it back over to you. When you're talking to contractors all across the country, are you hearing concerns about AI? And if you are, what are some of them? I mean, I would love to hear you speak to that.
Yeah, I mean, we have the benefit of being in the field quite a bit throughout the year, whether it's at workshops, conferences, or in the contractor's office. I think it ultimately comes down to trust. Is it trusting their team to understand and adopt the AI technology, or the other side is just trusting the AI technology? We are in a people industry. There's still a very high importance of being practical about how we want to approach customer relationships. So I was just with someone, I guess I've been about a month, where they mentioned the training gap was pretty significant for them. And so I think a lot of it is just what the owners really trusting their team's ability to leverage it, and then to also make sure that we have someone overseeing this, because look, there's nothing more important than getting a accurate estimate or putting together a proposal when some may already have very thin margins, that we have someone kind of looking over that to make sure things are all on the up and up before they get submitted. Um, what else do I see? I think accountability. There needs to be some level of accountability here. Again, this human powered industry is fantastic, but I think there's a lot of concern about maybe over relying on some of this automation. And even with certain things like legal compliance or safety, ultimately it's going to be the contractor is going to be responsible, not the AI platform. So someone needs to be accountable for these programs and implementation, and then making sure that there's a human that's kind of overseeing decisions at the very least during like the adoption phase, and getting everybody up and running on these programs. But those are probably the most ones I hear often, and it really just evolves around this idea of trust. So I think it has come a long way just in the last year. Another thing that I'll call out is, at these events, it feels like, I don't know, 50% or more of the partners or vendors that are on the floor with us are AI programs now. And, new ones are popping up, every single week. So it's here. And, we just have to, be smart about how we embrace it, and find the right people to manage it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head when you discussed it's really about people and how can AI help optimize the people. And really, strengthen everything. What's that phrase? It's like a rising tide lifts all ships. So, Patrick, I'll direct it back to you because I think there's some good advice that you can offer our attendees today in sharing maybe some practical actions or next steps that contractors can take to strengthen these
Yeah.
systems within the business and when it comes to SEO and AEO and how they're performing widespread.
Yeah, definitely. And there's so many practices. So this is the time of the webinar, and write this down. So first thing, Google Business Profile, like we're gonna keep kicking that dead horse. It's the most important thing you can do. You need to get reviews. You need recency. You need people to do it regularly. You can't have reviews from 6 years ago and then not again. Like that's a red flag. You need your review score to be better. Your review count to be better. You need to be responding to reviews within 24 hours. Good, bad, ugly. You should be responding to reviews. So that's Google. Outside of that, you need your reviews be on the aggregators like the Thumbtacks, the Yelps, the Angies. Get reviews are on those spaces. It doesn't need to be as much of a focus, but it's still valuable. Thing three of things off your site would be Reddit. Reddit is sourced more than anything else right now by AI tools, which is wild to me. Reddit is a dark hole, but it is still being sourced by AI more than anything else. So you need to have a Reddit presence. I'm not going to go too deeply into that today, but there is, if you'd like, I've got a Reddit checklist I can send you all after this call of what to do in Reddit, how to perform well in Reddit and do it in a natural, non-spammy way. But those three things, so the Google side, the aggregator side, and the Reddit are what you should be doing off of your website. So that's separate from your website. Those are things you should be doing. On your website, the data came out. This was from, I believe this was a Princeton audit that came pretty recently, it was a few months ago, on what's ranking well for AI visibility. The two number one things were statistics and quotes from owners or subject matter experts. So when I say statistics, you might be like, well, I don't have any statistics. That's wrong. If you have a CRM, you have statistics. So let's say you're a window company in Indianapolis, and you know from your CRM that the most popular window type being purchased in 2026 is a picture window, you should be able to put a statistic that says 34% of people are buying picture windows in 2026. Like that's valuable new information that only you have access to that you should be putting out on your main pages. Similarly, the owner or subject matter expert, or even installer quotes, add those to your website. It can be talking about the industry, what people are doing, what they're seeing, but adding those quotes are exceptionally important for AI, and it's good. It's just good because it's a differentiator. So if you're a roofing company in Colorado and a roofing company in Nebraska, you're probably going to sell a very similar kind of roof. So what differentiates you? Having those quotes, having those data points, having statistics, these are the real human things that make you an authority in the space, and AI is rewarding that really more than anything else on your website. That's what's being rewarded the most.
Those are awesome tips, Patrick. And I'm looking at some of the Q&A here, which we will absolutely get to. And we have a couple questions about how to get started on Reddit and requests for that checklist. So for everyone listening into this right now, we will definitely follow up with opportunity to receive that checklist. And thank you, Patrick, for sharing that because it's such a huge opportunity for business owners to tap into, especially on
Real
the Reddit.
fast. Sorry to interrupt, Becca. The one thing is make sure you don't get started on the Reddit until you read the checklist, because Reddit has actually released its own kind of AI monitors that are happening, and they are cracking down. So I would recommend to just take a beat, review the checklist, do it the right way so you don't get flagged, and then makes it life harder for you in the future.
Another great tidbit. Thank you, Patrick. All right, everybody. So we've heard from our panelists, and some good news is that hopefully you have taken away so far that you do not need a whole new playbook for this. You know, most of the things that are helping or will help you win with AI are things that are going to help you also win with search. So we walked through that playing field from everything reviews, SEO, AI visibility. So now we're going to enter what we call final quarter of the session today, and we're going to do a little lightning round for everybody. So this is where we'll ask our expert panelists here, Pete and Patrick, for their quick hit advice on what pros need to know as far as staying ahead of the game. So, with that to say, we're going to kick it off. Patrick, let's kick it off with you. What is one SEO myth that pros should stop believing?
Yeah, again, I mentioned that you probably all got AI audits in the last 12 months from different agencies. Um, the one that came up a lot was you need schema on your web, specific kind of schema on your website for AI tools to pick you up. This is not a bad suggestion, and I'm not against schema, but again, the data is finally here, and we're not seeing AI visibility improve when there is specific schema on a site. You still should have it. It's still good to have. And for those of you who don't know, schema is just like a little bit of code that goes on your site and is like a shortcut for Google to know what you're about, what you do. But it was kind of being treated for a while as like this magical unlock to AI visibility. That is not, at least at this point in time, as of July of 2026, that's not the case right now. You should still have schema. You should do it for Google if nothing else, and then AI might someday take it, but it's not the reason that someone's not showing up in AI right now.
Interesting. Great hot take, Patrick. All right, Pete, kick it over to you. What is one mistake that you think contractors make when asking for reviews?
I think they make it too complicated at times.
Yeah.
So make it super easy. You know, don't rely on just a text or an email that kind of forces the customer to go try to search for your Google platform. It's going to kill follow through. When at all possible, let's remove all as much friction and ask for the reviews face to face. You know, when customers are telling you how happy they are about their experience and they love everything, let's leverage that enthusiasm and let's hand them. I mean, there's lots of things out there. I've seen custom QR codes on like business cards. People even have QR codes on the back of t-shirts nowadays. There's mobile apps, you know, sends them directly to your GBP, and it just eliminates them having to look for it. And it's, if it's done through a text right there in person, they've got the link, and then there's a lot of automation that can follow up to make sure that if for some reason they can't leave it right then, that you're capturing it. So make it super simple, and when at all possible, ask for those reviews in person.
Yeah.
Love that, Pete. Yeah, I think it also ties back. I love the simplicity element, but it also ties back to what Patrick said earlier about having a system. Like it just makes it so much easier if you have it systematized in the business. So that's cool. Patrick, back to you. If you owned a home improvement company and could improve one thing or one visibility metric, I guess, this year, what would that be?
So I actually do own a business that I run on the side in the home services space. Um, so this is a great question. I think about this a lot. We are run about 95% of our leads come from SEO or organic search. And I like it that way. I don't want to pay for marketing if I don't have to. So for us, what's been and we're pretty new. We're like 2 years old. But in the space, we've really taken over our town in terms of visibility. We're showing up number one in like the map pack and in Google. It's great. We have more reviews than everybody. We have better reviews than everybody. Um, I really want to start taking it out. I want to grow our empire or whatever. I know we're all empire growers, but we're trying to grow out to further locations beyond where we are. And so to do that, it's a lot of the same strategy. It's treat SEO AI as an arms race. Just look at who's out there doing the best thing, and you do something better. So you go and you say they have 100 reviews. I'm going to get 110 reviews. You say that I've got a review score of 4.8. I'm going to have a 4.9 or better. They're in a location out to the west of where we are. I'm going to have a very specific location page on my website, for cities nearby, for Wilmette, for Skokie, all these reasonably near places that is optimizing my site, telling Google, telling the internet, AI, whomever, that we are in this space, we are active, and we're the best. So that's if I am a business owner, and these are the things that I am actively doing because, again, I don't want to pay for marketing costs if I don't have to. I would much rather get that money coming to me get those leads coming to me for free every month.
Yeah. I mean, you heard it first, guys. Straight from the home pro himself.
Love it.
Uh, all right, Pete, back to you. So, in your opinion, in today's world that we're in, what separates contractors with great online reputations from everybody else?
Wow, good question. I think the great contractors have systems in place. They are very consistent when it comes to best practices like review generation. I think they're also very good at communicating. Right now, communication continues to be a major ding for a lot of home improvement companies. As a homeowner, I experience it often with home service pros where I never know when they're going to come out or when I've got dogs and things I got to get prepared for. And, communication and expectation setting can certainly help separate you from others. And also, I think is starting to build that brand. Again, when it comes to communication, try to be as proactive as possible. I think, from like reputation management, be proactive there as well, address any potential negative reviews as fast as you can, be professional. Um, Trying to think of some other good ones out there. We talked a little bit about photos and videos, showcasing those in all your profiles, really helping you to tell your story. One of the things like I think Patrick was mentioning was the recency factor. Nowadays, homeowners want to know, when was the last time you provided that 5-star experience? Was it a year ago? Was it an hour ago? And if they can't find that information on your website, they're going to try to find it somewhere else. And when they leave your website, guess what? It's very unlikely, or your chances of converting that lead drop, because they get distracted. They may even come across a competitor. So, we want to keep them on your site. So we want to provide all this information to them so that they are confident in, your ability to provide the experience that they expect, and they end up converting. And then lastly, I think, just making sure that even with the age of AI upon us, we need to continue to focus on that customer experience, relationship building. These are not transactions here. The real opportunity is with that homeowner relationship. So treat it as that. Human judgment, I think, is still very important for all kinds of reasons. But, let's make sure that it's good to systemize things. It's good to be efficient. And all this data is extremely valuable. But, we still are in that people business, and we've got to continue to focus on those experience and relationships.
Absolutely. That's an interesting point. And I feel like a lot of the time when I'm talking to owners, there can sometimes be some fear around AI, because they think it's something that's going to replace the human element of the business. So I think that's a great reminder that it really is people first. That's really where trust, like I said before, trust is built. So, question for both of you actually is, in your opinion, what is one thing that AI can't replace when it comes to growing a business that you've seen or experienced yourself?
I'll throw some things out there. I think people. I mean, people are so important to our organizations. We're all looking for A players. Retaining them. So managing these people and their different personalities. I mean, that is a skill set, and we need to make sure that we're continuing to do those things. I think there's a lot of troubleshooting and fires that pop up throughout our day to day in the home improvement space. So, things very rarely go to plan. So when unexpected issues arise, it's going to take someone, a human, ingenuity, on the spot kind of problem solving here to help overcome some of those challenges. I think, a lot of us have gotten this far with data and, reporting, and, it's great to have all of that. There's still this kind of gut check that happens. I think we would all agree, and the kind of decision making, some of us have this feel for, what we feel is going to be right. And, that gut check there is still, I think, very valuable to at least acknowledge, certainly not ignore just because, we have, AI in place now. So, Patrick, anything else to add? Go for it.
I mean, it sounds cheesy, but the human part is, I mean, it's what separates us from the bots. It's also, we kind of touched on it, but where does AI get its information? If you remove people from the equation, it's just a spiral downwards of AI nonsense. So it has to start with people. Um, so the trust building, your experiences, who you are, your data, like all this stuff. This is what should be used to feed AI. AI should not feed itself because it will become, it will devolve in time very quickly. So having your strategy be around a human first approach, it will not only make you a better company, but it will make you easier to view and more viewable in like SEO and AEO.
Absolutely. I could not agree more with the both of you there. So we have one more question. I know we're coming up on time for today's session, but one more lightning round question for both Patrick and Pete. And I know that we have discussed so sort of these concepts and topics over the past hour, but one final question, and that is for everyone listening today who is genuinely wanting to take the next steps and improve things like visibility, search rankings, and their lead gen, which is such a big topic right now. Let's just say over the next 6 months, what, in your opinion, is the first step that they should take?
I'll go. Um, SEO, a lot of players in this space treat SEO as a checkbox. They treat it as a thing they're supposed to do just because they are, and they associate it with blogs and all this stuff. But what it should be is a marketing channel that's driving you leads. It should be a self-sustaining, ROI driving marketing channel for you. So I think the first step in doing that is setting up the data to understand what's actually happening. How are we winning? Like, are we winning? What can we do to win? I think that's the number one, like, first thing I would do. And then some things I would not do would be overemphasizing on blog posts. We've seen a lot, especially in the age of AI. I like that beat. The age of AI, we're seeing a lot of players just drop in a topic into Claude or ChatGPT, spit out the result, and then throw that on their website. But you're not the only one doing that. Everyone's going out and adding these blog posts, and it's kind of it's that spiral downward. It's just AI writing about AI about AI. We're not seeing nearly as much value in the blog space as we used to. So I would focus first on your main nav, your home pages, your money pages first, getting those to rank, tracking the value they're creating, and then make more of it. Find out what's working and then make more of it consistently. And the last thing of what not to do, do not go buy reviews. Please don't go buy Google Business Profile reviews. We've seen time and time again where it might work for a while and maybe you're on this call and you're like, oh, I did it and it hasn't caused any issues. Google is consistently going through and flagging those suspending accounts, and that is bad. It's much easier to go through win in the review space with actually getting your own reviews. Don't go buy them from the middle, Eastern Europe or something. We see a lot of Eastern European reviews. So don't do that. Do go after what's important. Do go after data, but don't hyper focus on blogs and don't go out and buy reviews.
Patrick nailed it. I'm going to stick to what I know best, which is the reviews component of this question. And I would say, look, reviews build trust. Trust increases conversion. So continue to focus on getting high quality reviews, making sure that you have a system in place to not only capture them, but to get those online in all the places you need them. Right now, today, Google, BBB, Facebook are the three most dominant, platforms where homeowners are going. That's changing, but at the same time, it's been pretty consistent over the last 5, 6 years. So I would start there. And I think if you do this the right way and you continue to get high quality reviews, or you amp it up and get more high quality reviews overall, that's going to impact lead generation, tremendously. So again, lots of different ways to do it. I would look at, implementing a consistent process so that every homeowner is getting that review, and that you have somebody there that's monitoring those and making sure that, those reviews are being streamed to your website. And then they're also being posted across all the other listings that are important online for you just to maximize, all of this juice that companies like Truvolv are going to pull for you. So I'll leave it at that.
Absolutely, guys. Well, all back to your point, right, Peter? Keep it simple, right? Keep it simple, have a system. Easy as that. But yeah, thank you both so much for your insight there. And really, thank you everybody so much today who spent the last hour with us. If there's one takeaway that I want to just really hit the nail on the head on, it's obviously the tools we have in the business are evolving. That's not a surprise. But really, it's the fundamentals that matter and are going to be what remains consistent over time, truly, which are things like reviews. They're continuing to be one of the most powerful business assets that you can have, because they're going to build influence and they're going to build trust, and they're going to help your search engine optimization and AI platform. So hopefully you got some good educational learnings today from our experts. Also take away trust. Trust is going to be the remaining deciding factor for your homeowner. So keep that in your minds as you go about your days. And it's really the contractors that are earning the reviews and making the investments in things like visibility, working with companies like Truvolv, delivering exceptional customer experiences, which is what gFour does best. These are the things that are going to help you stand out from your competitors. And I promise you, I hear and see this firsthand every single day. So keep that in mind also as you see technology continue to evolve. So thanks again, everybody, so much for being with us today. We really appreciate your time, and we really look forward to connecting with you. I know both of our teams have provided an opportunity to opt in for more information and take advantage of things like the Reddit checklist that Patrick mentioned earlier in our session today. So please reach out. We're here for you. We are hand in hand business partners with you in this journey. So we absolutely look forward to that. And I will leave it to you. So thanks everyone again. And we look forward to chatting with you. Let us know if we can ever be of assistance, and we will talk to you hopefully sooner than later.
Have a great week, everyone, or weekend
Take care.
coming up here.
Sure.